Welcome back to the podcast. So today we're doing stuff a little bit different. I don't know, I've been feeling super uninspired by my usual recording space, and I've been wanting to take things outside a little bit more. And if you're watching this on in the video format instead of listening it through the podcast, then you could see we're outside. And I think it can only go like two ways because I picked a beautiful spot right next to the water, and it's either it's terrible or in my head the way I see this, the way I view it, the way I hear it is that the water will create a nice little zen relaxation background. Anyways, we're gonna keep like a positive mindset. So again, today I literally didn't, I don't know why, I've been really feeling as a Capricorn rising with lots of Capricorn action in my chart. I've been feeling totally out of character lately. And I've been really feeling adventurous, or not necessarily adventurous, but the need to step outside of the box and all of the restrictions and all of the constrictions and yeah, so I thought that like recording outside, would be like a great will go really well with today's theme. And by the way, it's a whole different energy recording outside of the usual element. It's crazy how us humans we're creatures of habits, right? We're used to doing things a certain way. We want to do them a certain way, but which brings today's topic. I feel like we need to really be careful not to constantly just not to lock ourselves into rigid roles, right? These could be roles, they could be expectations that we place on ourselves or expectations that other people place on us that perhaps we've never really had a chance to think through or even agree to them, right? And that was the inspiration for today's episode. And it's crazy because I've been getting so much inspiration lately, and I feel like it's just I think it's a manifestation of just my soul just finally having much more space to expand. And how can we do that is just by committing to doing the work, not just on paper but really sitting with the hard stuff when they come up, because every time we do that and we expand our capacities and our self-awareness. But anyways, I don't want to get ahead of myself. So what is today's topic again in a neatly way? So yes, I was thinking about it last time, and you know how we're so preoccupied, we don't want to have regrets at the end, and then we all want to know our I think that's a major reason why we're so obsessed with knowing our purpose. We're so obsessed with like, doing shadow work and then living our best lives, and think that's also a reason why self-help, has exploded lately. And you have spirituality, new wave, people are getting more and more interested and attracted in these things. And I really think at the end of the day, it all comes down to the same result, because we don't want to live a mediocre life. And we really want to make sure that, like, you pretty much squeeze everything out of you get every single last drop. So the theme of today is inviting us to make a commitment to ourselves to live a full life. I wrote it down. I'm just going to read what I wrote down because I think it was really beautiful the way I wrote it down, the way I got the divine inspiration. I just keep getting downloads. It's actually funny because I don't really, I don't, just for full disclaimer, I don't use ChatGPT when it comes to coming up with the topic of my videos or making the outlines. I've played with that in the past with a couple of episodes, but I felt like it just felt flat. It was missing soul. Yeah, they're still useful, so I love those episodes there, but it was missing the typical like soul that I feel like I convey through my episodes. So I still use ChatGPT, but only when it comes to doing admin stuff, like filling up description boxes, because hello, there's only like we only have one copy of ourselves, right? We can only do so much. But when it comes to the actual podcast that I do and the content, these are all inspired by things that I'm actually going through in life. So, and it's also not me sitting on top of a mountain and be like, oh, I'm a guru, have figured out everything in life. And now come my students and my peasants, just sit, gather around and listen to me. No, it's not like that. I'd say it's pretty hands-on, and it's pretty much making it up as we're going. And I think this is why, so I would go through things and I would just get download after, often when I after I'm done processing them, whatever I'm going through, or sometimes in the middle of it, and then I would get like a download, and that deep intense, I need to really cover that thing and talk about it. So this is what I got. It's I said, or whatever the voice of my soul wanted to express today. So it's wanting my soul to look back at the end and have a wild smile, because we would have taken all the adventures, and not letting fear hold us back, and just living fully. I'm sorry if this is not like, this might not sound super poetic, but like I said, these are like live downloads I get, and sometimes, yeah, I just write them down. So pretty much it's the invitation for us to kind of all write this in our own mission statement, and the way we commit to living our lives moving forward. And I talk a lot on the podcast that I'm a Kabbalah student, and right now I'm recording this during the month of Hishvan, which is the month of Scorpio. And we literally just came out of lots of major holidays, the high holidays. They call them holidays, but they're not really holidays. They're actually like cosmic up and cosmic, kind of like cosmic gates. But because I like to keep this podcast super grounded, there are cosmic openings, the moment where we have access to special energies that are here to help us, assist us in this life, in this world of illusion that we call real life. So yeah, and then because of all these energies, I really feel like I actually made an episode on that. Go check it out if you haven't listened to it, where I cover the energy of the month of Scorpio. Even if you're watching this outside of Scorpio, by the way, this is still very relevant. But one thing I actually brought up was how this month Scorpio can push us. It's actually an amazing month for like great manifestation. I'm not gonna rehash everything I already said, but I'm bringing this up because I mentioned that because I actually mentioned that how another thing that tends to happen, that I mean the energy is supporting, is challenges. But those challenges, we need to, they're there for us. They're pretty much gifts. I know we don't often see them when we're going through them, but they are gifts. So when I'm linking, remember at the beginning I said I really hope this episode inspire you to really take a, just take like do an audit of your life and see, are you satisfied with the way you're running the show? I know we all have obligations, we all have work, we all have things that we're doing that we don't necessarily want to do. I'm not coming here and being like irresponsible and telling you, oh, you should ditch, whatever you're doing and just like go out there and just like, be a nomad somewhere. That's not what we're saying. But I really would like all of to encourage all of us to make sure that we're living a life that is authentic to us, and that the kind of life that your soul is so excited. You wake up every day and then you just like, you are so excited to go through life. Now again, I do acknowledge that we don't all have the same reality, right? We all have different life movies, but there's always something you can do. One thing that I find really helped me, and that's something that I kind of notice I I do a lot, and it's such a great cheat code. I would often reverse engineer stuff. So I really like to imagine at the end of my life. Now I know a lot of people, especially, for example, when I talk to my Virgo friends, they find it a little bit too morbid. But please bear with me here for a second, because I think it's so useful, and I really believe that it's one of the major way for you to pretty much, accelerate things in your life by taking the approach of reverse engineering. So I love to think about myself at the end of the finishing line, let's say on the deathbed, or even if it doesn't have to be so morbid, I don't know, let's say like 50 years down from today, that could actually help you if you find the whole like dying thing, if you're still uncomfortable with that. But think about your life like 50 years down the road, 80 years down the road, and you think about, oh wait, there is a plane, actually a helicopter. This is what's happened when you choose to film to record outside. So yeah, so think about your life 50 years down the road, and think about the version of you who's living a thriving life and absolutely excited, and your soul is just so happy and wakes up every day and just like, you want to think about after you've lived most of your life, when you would, let's say you would take a look back, how would you feel? Would you feel happy, excited, or would you feel like, ugh, you didn't give it your best? What we're striving for is that feeling of we gave it our best. After, for example, the example I'm thinking about is I used to go to, back then when I was a kid, when I was young, I grew up in Montreal, and I used to love to go to the park La Ronde, which is like an amusement park. If you American listening to this, it's like Six Flags, these type of park, and riding, all of those rides and stuff like that. And when you do like all of the like adrenaline rush ride, and then after you've gone through the ride, you've gone through like the fear and all that stuff, and then when you get off the ride, or at the end of the day at the car at the park, and you feel tired, but it's a good tired. You feel, you are satisfied, and then you've lived, and then you had an amazing day, and you're so happy. You very super content of you have a lot of contentment. That's what we want at the end of our life. We really, really do want to strive for that. Yes, I know we're all humans, and I know that doesn't matter how much consciousness you have, life is gonna get to you. I know. But we should still try. That's what we should be aiming for. That's what we should be striving for. And then what we do, we reverse engineer, and we're trying to see, okay, what the things that I'm doing right now, are they in alignment? Are they conducive to that final result? And then that's where you can start doing lots of audit in your life. I find that living like this really helps me, especially if you like a reform people pleaser. It really helps keep me aligned, and it really helps me make sure that I'm not getting distracted, and it really will help you. It's a major trick to help you, make sure that you're staying true to yourself, right? You're not giving yourself, to everyone, and you're not spreading your energies all around the place, because our energy and finite. Oh my god, I can't speak today. I think I'm not used to being outside. I have to, what, as we say, practice makes perfect. And it's so beautiful outside. I don't want to, I think we're going to keep doing this. So this, I really wanted to talk about that, our soul, we want, because trust me, when your soul, the more you awaken your soul, it's just life becomes so much better, because and I really do think this is the ultimate, you know way to escalate, to speed up self growth, right? Because then you start living from another vintage point, and you start getting strength that you didn't even know you had. You start seeing things, you start being guided towards things that you could have never, that your mind would have never really, you know thought of before. Because the greater your consciousness, the more it's like your life becomes more expensive, like it really grows. And which brings me to my next point, that we're not gonna like, you're not gonna want to hear that. Hey, I don't want to hear that either. Which is let's talk about challenges, because the reality of life is, if we want, 20 years, I said 50 years, it doesn't even have to be 50 years. It could just be like next year. It could be 5 years, 10 years, next year, 6 months from now, when you look back and you're like, hell yeah, I gave it my best. It was amazing 6 months. So we need to talk about challenges. And I think this is perfectly suited for the month that we're in right now, Hishvan, Scorpio, which, like I keep talking about over and over again, it will bring up challenges because they are your opportunity for you to grow, because that's how we grow. We grow through going through challenges. And then, the same way how a baby learns how to walk, it doesn't just sits on its butt and then one day it starts walking magically, right? The baby has to go through the challenges of walking, which I presume is super hard for them. And then through the, you know constantly falling, and that pain and that hardship of learning how to walk, and then they master a skill. So in a way, this is how we need to start approaching our lives. And also, I really wanted to bring up something, because even I myself I used to ask that all the time, right? Why is life so hard? Why does it have to be so? Why do we need to have so many challenges? But the reality of thing is, if we didn't have those challenges, like, the reality is we wouldn't want to live a life without challenges. Like, someone told me that, I don't remember exactly who it was. I think it was, I first heard this through one of my mentors, one of my teachers. They all say that, to be honest, it would be really hard for me to credit a person, because it's not just one person. I In the last month, I must have heard that at least from three different, you know teachers of mine. They're always reminding you that. Oh, also, actually, I remember one credit, in one source, is Karen. All right, take two. I literally just ran out of battery. Of space. So I first heard that from one of major, major, major figure, Karen Berg, which pretty much helped spread Kabbalah into the world through the center, and making it accessible and very easily understandable to, the mass. For example, me, you, and people like us. Because before, that was a wisdom that was pretty much only available to older men and scholars. And so it's amazing that we have access to that wisdom. And so, if this is your first episode tuning into the podcast, what is Kabbalah? Is pretty much, it's the wisdom of life. Literally super ancient, 3,000, 4,000 years old, telling us about, explaining how everything works, the spiritual rules, the spiritual laws, and how the universe works, to make that really, really short. So, and then she mentioned that in one of her book, and she said she was really answering like some of the questions that she gets a lot through her students. And the question was, why is life so hard? And and then she literally said that we wouldn't have it any other way. And it's crazy, because when I first heard that, I was mad. I'm not gonna lie, because I thought it was dismissive. But then again, I was in a class with another teacher of mine, Chaim, Cohen, and he said that, I love the example he gave. He said, "Can you imagine if you playing a game of tennis and there was no opponent?" Right? Now, I don't really play tennis, so, but whatever game you play or whatever sports you play, just insert that in. Like, if it's like, anything like team sport that you're playing. But let's take the example of tennis. Let's say that, you were playing, and then the machine was sending you, like, was throwing the balls. Yeah, at first it might be exciting, because you're hitting the ball, but after a couple of minutes it gets boring. And then we can actually observe that with kids. Even if they can get a little bit selfish sometimes, they don't want to share their toys. But a lot of time you'd see that they kind of like, they get really bored when they're playing alone all the time. For example, my little brother used to complain to my mom a lot that Stephanie doesn't want to play with me. And then I had to go play with him and stuff, because we were only like, we were very close in age. So yeah. And then when my teacher, Chaim Cohen, said that, And I thought about it and I was like, wow, he's right. And this added another layer to, what Karen Berg said. We wouldn't have it any other way. We want the challenge. First of all, there's a reason why the challenge is also there, but I won't really get into that today. Don't want to keep this too long. We don't want to make this an hour long. But to keep it super simple, it's because we want, I mean, we need it. We wouldn't really, first of all, we wouldn't want it any other way. And second of all, us humans, I'm pretty sure you already heard of something called hedonic adaptation. We get used to things really fast. We have amazing survival skills, and things need to be challenging. They need to be challenging because that's how, first of all, we learn, we grow. And if they weren't challenging, honestly, we would be bored out of our mind. So, to recap, what I wanted to say, what I was saying today, what we covered today in the episode is really in encouraging all of us to constantly audit our lives, to make sure that our soul, let's say 1 year, 5 year, 10 years, 50, 1,000, well, not 1,000 year, but 90 years down the road, when you look back, we want to have that hell yes feeling. And the only way you get that hell yes feeling is if you actually, it's okay, don't worry. The only way you can get that hell yes feeling is if you really, really live to your max, right? That is your only task. So we want to make sure that we're constantly auditing ourselves and our lives, right? And one way to make sure that our soul lives its full potential, and gets super excited because, oh my goodness, that was such a good ride. One way we can make sure we get that feeling, or we increase our chance of getting that feeling, is to remember that the challenges of life is a major gift for us to evolve. So we need to kind of learn to reframe our mind to see those challenges as opportunities for us, for our soul to evolve and have an amazing lifetime in this reincarnation. Again, one final disclaimer. Of course, I know this is not always easy. When those challenges and the dark time are rolling over, we're not always like, oh my God, yeah, let me just put on my Zen hat. But at least let's just keep this in our subconscious. And that was today's, honestly, I don't know what's going on today in the podcast. We are no structure, no outlines. But I think I'm going to mix it up like that. I kind of like the mixture. As usual, leave me a comment down below. Leave me a 5-star review. Let me know how you relate to this. Any reactions? Did I strike a nerve? Did I, just leave all of these comments and I will start reading them back on the podcast. And also, you can always get a birth chart reading with me, a soul blueprint reading with me that can really help align. If you don't know, if you have no idea how to actually align your life, then definitely I'll leave all these links in the show notes. That way you can have a session with me, because this will give you so much clarity. There is so much on your chart. It's not even funny. Everything is there. Past life, the goal, the reason why your soul came here, what is the purpose. We can see all of these things. And then also channeling, where we get deeper. I like to call it the gossip, the juicy points. And all these things are down below. Anyways, that's it for today, because I'm getting attacked by mosquitoes. So I'm gonna go and I'll catch you in the next one.